Hi everyone, this is the E-mini Nasdaq. I'm using a 1000 tick chart and a 21 EMA. I've got my overnight high up here and my overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. And I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area over here. And notice that we have this uptrend, break, and then a push up to a new high. So this uptrend is considered played out at this point because it has a break and a new extreme. That's how trends play out. So with a downtrend, it would be a break and a new low to be considered played out. And so it is played out at this point, but clearly on a bigger picture, this is still one leg. Even though there's a clear separation between these legs here, you can still tell that there's one move up on a bigger picture. And you have to consider that. Now, it does end up breaking through here and it doesn't hold, but after it breaks here, it can still attempt a new high for this whole uptrend. And so oftentimes what will happen is you'll get the reversal from this trend playing out. So uptrend, break, new high, and then you'll get a reversal pattern, and it can offer a great short, but then you'll still get a bigger picture attempt at a new high for this whole uptrend right here. And so in this case here, we didn't quite get that reversal pattern I was wanting. We pushed on lower. We just got this lower high. It'd be good to see a couple legs back. We got this push up. It'd be nice to see another leg back like that. I'm just going to move that for a sec. So it'd be like downtrend, couple-legged break. So this is a failed second entry right here. If it had pushed on, made a second leg, then you would have a failed second entry, but you'd also have confluence from this uptrend because you'd have uptrend and then break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher. And so, like I said, price is expected to attempt a new high. And if it doesn't make a new high after a trend break, after 2 attempts, then you can expect a failure. And then you want to look to get in on that failure. Like I said, it's a reversal pattern on the other side of the count, and we're just coming off the overnight high. So that'd be a great area for that, but it just doesn't form. So anyway, we continue on lower, downtrend, break, new low, price attempts to reverse from there. We could have just gotten a slightly bigger picture trade had it made a second leg up from there. Just like I was showing right here with those couple legs up possibilities, you could just you could just get that here on a bigger picture, because just like this trend, it's still one trend, but it still has 2 smaller legs within it. This downtrend that has a break and a new low is still one leg on a bigger picture. And so this is just spotting price action, getting bigger picture in real time. It's good to learn this stuff. And then after it fails to reverse, it easily could just reverse on up from there, and just push on higher. It ends up pushing on lower and making a slightly wider downtrend. And so rather than having this leg and then the reversal, now that it's continued lower, we have an even bigger picture leg, and then we use that in a measured move a little bit later. So anyway, we push on up right here. This is another place that we could get a reversal pattern higher, like a push up and then a couple legs back, failed second entry, but it just doesn't happen. So we push on up, start pushing back down, nothing to get in on here. It just makes us double bottom. We start pushing up. Again, we could have pushed into a failed second entry from here. If we just pushed on up with a couple good legs back, we could have gotten a good long to make that new high, because at this point right here, this is the first major attempt at a new high. So you have uptrend and then break, first attempt higher, and then we start that second attempt higher right here. So this would be a great area for a failed second entry, but it just doesn't form. I didn't like how, let me put this back. I had this drawn. It was starting to go a bit sideways. Let me just use my range. What am I using that trend line for? So it was kind of like this, a little bit sideways, and then of course extended it down to here after that double bottom. I didn't like this higher low. I just wanted to see a failed second entry. We had even though we had a sharp push up, we had a sharp push down right after, and so I wanted to see a clear entry, not one that just pushes up, closes back below, and it's kind of iffy. So we push on lower here. We push through this range low, and you can fade back in. When you break out, it's very common to fade. Price attempts to fade there, but it just doesn't push back in. But just because it doesn't fade and it holds on the lows with a bearish bar, it doesn't immediately mean you want to go short. If you want to take a breakout pullback, you want to see 2 attempts, not just a first entry. Even though this measured move is still in play, that measured move's in play, that's bearish, but you still have this fade that could possibly happen. It's competing against it. So anyway, you don't just want to go short on that, first entry right there. You'd want to see a two-legged breakout pullback. So anyway, we push on lower here, we reach this measured move, and then we end up pushing on through it here, and we get these two legs retesting it. So we get this first entry short and then second entry short, and then it starts to get choppy, and then it kind of starts to hold above. You notice we make this swing on top of that measured move level, and it starts to get choppy here, but we do end up pushing on lower and then getting this swing that holds below, and it looks good for a short, but you do have to consider this trend line right here. Draw it right off those lows right there. You just don't want to push it right into it, especially when you have this little measured move. Obviously, you can tell that's one leg on a bigger picture, but you do have that measured move. You wouldn't want to push it past both of those, and you might as well just not push it past either, because there's no point in doing that. So anyway, push on lower here. It ends up pushing on through this trend line here and starts to get choppy, but again, you don't know that it's going to do that, so it's not worth pushing your target past it. So we push on up here, make this higher low. Now, even though we have this higher low, holding on to it, we did just retest this measured move level and push on through that trend line, so it's not like it means that much. It's barely closing above the EMA there. After getting above, it just shot back below right there. So I would want to see a clear failed second entry pushing above. You'd be entering into that previous measured move level, because at this point, even though you've pushed right through it and you've retested it, it's still possible to get a reversal pattern. It's very common that you'll meet a big measured move and then it'll just push on through it and chop around that area for a while before reversing. But you can still reverse at this point, but you don't want to take something like that where, it's clearly still holding below. So anyway, nothing there. We push on lower here and, nothing to go short here on either. Even though you have a second entry short right here and it starts pushing lower, it's starting to get sideways here. It's right into, it's kind of just in these lows area. And also, one other thing to consider is when you break through a trend line and then you start pushing up, you can look to extend the trend line to that swing. And then notice how it ended up holding a little bit. Again, it ends up pushing on through. A lot of times wider trend lines, because this is obviously very wide. It's not like a clear trend or anything. They're not going to last very long. They're not going to be very effective. They're not going to hold very much. But, they're still worth drawing and not entering directly into. There are times when sometimes there will be a really wide trend line that's not, it's not holding very clearly. And there's no clear direction, but but if there's a very big picture entry, sometimes it's okay to push it through a little tiny bit, kind of like how sometimes if when you're in a range, I'll push the target out the other side a tick or two, something like that. But anyway, we push on lower here, no shorts on the way down here. We get this correction, just a first entry short, nothing to take on a first entry. We push on lower again, and it's pretty clearly going sideways here. We're going into this range, get this little breakout, and we fade back in, and we get these two pushes higher. Now, since this point here, with these two legs, we haven't gotten a clear two-legged move. We do have those two pushes up there, but again, it's right in that trend line. We push on lower here, and we just get these shallow, ticks higher, first entry there. But we finally get a second entry again, and it's actually holding off of this, high right here. And notice here, we push below here. It's really on borderline with the EMA. It's basically just closing right on it. But it's holding on this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 bounces right there. Can't get above it. Two legs up. It's extremely bearish at this point. Still have this big measured move in play. So I really liked that right here. Now, I did have to push the target out a little bit, but I didn't really care because it had already pushed out at that point before, and so I didn't really mind. But even if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have mind pushing it out, because I don't mind pushing it out a couple ticks anyway. But it's just so bearish, it doesn't really matter. You got two legs back, it's holding pretty clearly. So anyway, we push on lower here, get this lower high. Now, I would not want to take this lower high. We just had a sharp pushed into these lows. And we just made this new low, so I'd want to see two legs back, not just a first entry. So anyway, we push on lower here, reach this low, and we just have a small push off of it before pushing lower, and now we have a very clear overshoot at this point. We overshot to meet this measured move, and so we started getting choppy when we started getting close to it, but we ended up bouncing right off of it, with a double bottom, very clear reaction. So these measured moves are very important to understand. This measured move took place over the whole day, and it just bounced right off of it. So it's very important to understand this. Very commonly, you'll have a measured move inside of a trend, and then the measured move will, just like it did here, overshoot the trend, or the price will overshoot the trend to meet the measured move, and then it'll push into a reversal pattern. Because when you're in a downtrend, you can take a long. If you get a good reversal pattern, you can take a long inside of this downtrend. You do have good context for it. The measured move is met. Overshoots lead to breaks. They lead to very sharp moves into breaks. And so a reversal pattern pushing up from here would be great, but unfortunately it just doesn't happen. We just push up, get this higher low, we have uptrend, break, new high, and then of course that starts forming this wider trend here. Because notice here, it's uptrend, break, new high. So that trend is played out, and then price attempts to reverse, but since it failed to reverse, that forms this wider trend right here. And so we just continue on up here, we break, and it gets choppy. Looks like we just broke out the highs of this little range and then faded back in. Nothing to take there. It just looks like, very bullish push out and then just straight sideways. We could have gotten a clear lower high or some kind of, little failed second entry, a little one to get back in there, but nothing there. So anyway, what could happen is, we just get a break from this, because we basically just have, push up, break, and so we could possibly get, sorry, let me just get this drawn up here. I didn't even mean to grab that, sorry. A couple of pushes at a new high, and so uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, could get something up to these, up to this key entry point here. And so from here, it would be first entry long, second entry long, failure. And so failed second entry, but on this side of the count with this uptrend right here, which let me put this back on, I'm not sure why I removed that, we would have uptrend, break, first attempt higher, second attempt higher, failure. So, I hope that's clear. Just having confluence with the, with these failed second entries in the previous trend and spotting stuff on a bigger picture. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope it helped out in some way, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.